how are you able to manage the family life? How are you able to manage your real estate business? And how are you able to manage doing all this social media marketing at the same time? How do you fit it in?
Yeah, so I would say there's three things. I think the first one is vision, right? What do I want my life to look like at the end of the day? Because you're going to have a perceived vision, but you also know that you can't lie to yourself. So you have to know what exactly did you want it to look like. I did want to have an omnipresence, but I knew that I didn't want to spend my time doing it. Yeah. So, okay, if you don't want to do it, that means that what? You need to have two things. You need to have systems and you need to have leverage, right? And that leverage comes in the form of a team, most likely. So for me, it goes back to the vision. Then the second one was, okay, I needed leverage. I needed to be able to articulate the vision so my team could feel like this was something that they wanted to get behind. Because everyone loves...
I got to know. So did you build out a social media team day one, or is that something that you built up over time?
Yeah, so I think in the beginning, the first thing I did, to be honest, so when I first got started in real estate, I started out with virtual assistants, right? Because I just didn't have a lot of money, and I was a little cheap in the beginning too. So I started going on Upwork.com, 5 years ago, and so that helped me a little bit. And so I learned how to navigate that while looking for virtual assistants for my real estate business to help me with transactions and things like that. And then as I started to really want to put out more content and become a content creator and provide value that way, I knew that I didn't have a lot of time to learn the game of video editing. Now there's a lot more apps and things like that make it a little bit easier, but still, if you're trying to stay cutting edge, like you're going to spread yourself too thin. And so what I did was I went to Upwork, and the first hire that I made when it came to building out my team was a videographer, and not so much somebody local, because my guy, he's still with me today. He's out of Argentina. And so I just basically put out a post there and I said, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody to help me create really dope content that was Gary Vee style at the time on Instagram. And I put it out there. I put a couple links of here's what I'm looking for. And then I just, waited for people. I, of course, invited some people who I thought maybe had a good portfolio or some good stuff. But my guy, he actually wound up reaching out to me and he was like, hey, man, I can make those. I actually make it kind of similar to another guy. And then he showed me those, and then we just started the connection. So that was the first guy who I built a relationship with. And then from there, it kind of evolved out and we tried many different things. He was doing social media writing. He was doing captions for the post for me. And then what I learned was that he was kind of burning out too. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to get him back into something that's a little bit more specialized to what he wants to do, because he started out just doing the video editing and all these other things. But then he evolved into all these other things. Right. So then I was like, okay, well, what's the next thing that I need? I was like, okay, well, if I want to get him back to what he loves so he doesn't burn out, I probably need a social media manager. And so from there, I wound up hiring a social media manager. And then on top of that, we started to get into the podcasting world. And then so I always just kind of hired for somebody who I felt could take that off of my plate. And then the whole purpose of what I told them in the beginning of why we was doing it was to impact other people. And so the number one thing we had to do was to stay consistent, right? Because people will continue to show up if you continue to show up for them. So that was the vision from the beginning, was we had to stay consistent. Even like Mark Zuckerberg, I heard this from him, but he has that quote that says, we run fast and we break shit, right? And I was like, I've always told my team, like, everything's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. But as long as we show up and we're consistent, people know that they can depend on us. And that's how you create something that's bigger than you. And so that's always been the thing. I think if people ask me now, like, do I love what my brand is and things like that, I think we've evolved 3 or 4 times. And what that means is I don't want to say pivoted, but we've made, shifts 3 or 4 times. Like, oh, let's try out this style of media. But that's what life is. It's optimization, even from a kid, right? We start out and maybe you're doing basketball. Then you go to soccer and you don't like any of those. And you want to be a YouTuber now, or you want to be a professional gamer, or you want to be an author, it's just a whole bunch of shifting. Right? And you're shifting gears until you find what's comfortable for you. And so that's what I've always tried to do. And it's just like anyone else. I'm human, right? And I see things and I have that a little bit of perfectionism where it's like, I don't like that. But then you have to understand that done is better than perfect. Right? It's always going to be better than perfect. And so I have to just tell myself, like, listen, it's only one post. If you don't like it, you can archive it. But what don't you like about it? And how can we shift and make it better this next time around so where you get that engagement? And also understand that, yes, it's about you and what you like. But at the end of the day, your story is not really about you. your message is not really about you. It's about impacting someone else's life. And that's how you get that snowball effect. So even if you might not like it, you don't know what the public's going to say. So just relax, calm down, see what type of engagement you get, right? It's always about numbers. Like I said, in the beginning, it's contacts, right? So how many people engage you might find that while you don't necessarily love it, your tribe does. So keep showing up. So that's kind of something that I've always tried to put into my mind.
It's really difficult to predict what people are going to respond to. And I totally agree with you on maybe not necessarily pivoting completely, but reframing your brand, trying different things. It's absolutely vital, because the more you produce, the more you learn, the more you listen, the more you learn. And then you need to kind of tweak to meet up with them. And I got to be honest, you use like 3 or 4 quotes that I use almost all the time. Done is better than perfect, better than yesterday, something I say. But that idea of move fast and break stuff, I literally was saying that to my team yesterday, because I've recently onboarded 3 new social media reps to my team, right? And they're very trepidatious. They don't want to post. Everything's got to be perfect. Mark, can you approve this? Mark, can you approve that? I'm like, listen, just put it out there.
Just put it out there. Right. And that's something that we all have struggled with, especially when you already have a big brand. Right. And you're trying to get your team to move. And it's like, yo, just take action, right? That's what something that I definitely admire Gary Vee on. I don't know how he got his team, to be able to be as creative as they were, right? Because I've listened to so many things by Gary, and he was like, yeah, I'll be honest, like my team puts all of this together. I don't really know how they do it. And I've showed my team that, but they're always, just like you said, like, can you approve this? What do you think of this? And it's like, well, listen, that's the whole reason why I created Dream Nation too, because I felt like for my brand, it was always going to be a struggle for them to be able to know what I would want to do. But for Dream Nation, or anybody who's creating a media company, something that's bigger than a personal brand, right? Something that really is the voice in the community of the people, I get my team in. And what I constantly tell them is, would it inspire you to see something like this, right? Would you get value from something like this? Because if so, somebody else would get value from it too. And so that was another huge reason of why I created Dream Nation. But that is a struggle, trying to get people to actually take action and just say, hey, it's okay if we make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But are we going to, continue to improve, and are we going to continue to take action? And if we do, and we're consistent enough, we'll get the results that we want in the end.
Yeah, for sure. It's very true as a leader trying to build a team, but also just as individuals trying to grow that presence. I mean, how many times have we typed something out and we're like, all right, I'm about to hit post, but no, I want to just think about it a little bit later, or the picture's not perfect. And it's so easy to let that just kind of slide over everything that you're doing. And before you know it, you haven't actually done anything. It's a big problem. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.